If you're one of those people who just can't get started in the morning without getting something good to eat, McDonald's can be a tempting option.
Fast food is built on one promise: quick, cheap, and satisfying. And let's be honest, we've all had those moments. You're hungry, you're in a rush, and the drive-thru feels like the easiest option. But here's the thing most people don't think about. Not every fast food item is created equally. Some menu items are designed to be efficient, easy to make, easy to serve, consistent across every location. Others, they're complicated, messy, hard to execute at scale. And that's where problems start. Because when a fast food item is too complex, too processed, or too dependent on perfect timing, the chances of something going wrong increase dramatically. We're talking about inconsistent quality, overloaded ingredients, excessive calories, and items that look amazing in ads, but don't always deliver in real life. And sometimes it's not even about taste. It's about how these items are made behind the scenes. So in this video, we're breaking down 10 fast food items in the US. You might want to think twice about ordering, and more importantly, why. Because once you understand what goes into these items, you might start ordering very differently. 1. McRib. Let's start with one of the most mysterious fast food items ever, McRib from McDonald's. It has a cult following. People wait for its return. Some even track where it's available. But here's what most people don't realize. The McRib isn't a traditional rib sandwich. It's made from restructured pork, meat that's processed, shaped, and formed into that signature rib-like appearance. That doesn't make it unsafe, but it does make it very different from what many customers imagine. Then there's the sauce, a heavy layer of sweet, tangy barbecue sauce that defines the flavor, but also masks the underlying meat. And because the McRib is a limited time item, consistency can vary. Some locations nail it, others, not so much. And when you combine processed meat, heavy sauce, and inconsistent preparation, you get an item that's more about hype than reliability. 2. Double Down. Next, one of the most extreme fast food creations ever, the Double Down from KFC. This isn't a typical sandwich. There's no bun. Instead, 2 fried chicken fillets act as the bread with bacon, cheese, and sauce in the middle. It's bold, it's unique, but it's also intense. From a preparation standpoint, this item is tricky. Fried chicken needs to be cooked just right, crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. Now imagine stacking 2 pieces together, adding more ingredients, and trying to maintain balance. That's difficult to execute consistently. Then there's the nutritional side. High calories, high sodium, high fat. It's not something most people would want to eat regularly. The Double Down isn't just food, it's a statement. And like many extreme menu items, it sacrifices practicality for shock value. 3. Baconator. Now let's talk about the Baconator from Wendy's. At first glance, it looks like a dream for meat lovers. Multiple beef patties, layers of bacon, cheese, sauce. But here's the issue: balance. The Baconator is built around excess. And while that sounds appealing, it can lead to inconsistent experiences. Too much grease, too much salt, too heavy for a quick meal. From a kitchen perspective, stacking multiple patties and bacon strips increases the chance of uneven cooking or rushed assembly. And when something goes slightly off, you feel it. It's not that the Baconator is bad, it's that it's easy to get wrong. 4. Whopper. The Whopper from Burger King is one of the most recognizable burgers in the world. Flame-grilled beef, fresh toppings, sesame seed bun. It sounds like a solid choice. But here's where things get complicated. The Whopper relies heavily on freshness. Lettuce, tomato, onions. These ingredients need to be crisp and well prepared. If they're not, the entire burger suffers. And because Burger King locations are often franchise operated, quality can vary widely. One location might serve a perfectly balanced Whopper. Another might give you something soggy, cold, or poorly assembled. The Whopper isn't inherently a bad item, but it's highly dependent on execution, and that makes it unpredictable. 5. Crunchwrap Supreme. Finally, Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell. This is one of Taco Bell's most popular items, and for good reason. It's creative, portable, packed with flavor, but it's also one of the most complex items on their menu. Multiple layers, meat, cheese, lettuce, tomato, sour cream, a crunchy tostada shell, all wrapped into a single shape. That complexity makes it harder to prepare consistently. If the layers aren't balanced properly, you might get too much of one ingredient and none of another. If it's not wrapped tightly, it can fall apart. If it sits too long, the crunch disappears. The crunch wrap is a great idea, but it depends heavily on precision. And in fast food, precision isn't always guaranteed. 6. Filet-O-Fish. Let's talk about the Filet-O-Fish from McDonald's. At first glance, it seems like a lighter option. Fish instead of beef. Smaller size, simpler ingredients. But here's the issue: timing. Unlike burgers or chicken, fish doesn't have the same constant demand in fast food. That means these sandwiches are often made less frequently and sometimes sit longer before being served. And with fried fish, that matters because the texture changes quickly. What should be crispy can turn soft. What should be hot can feel lukewarm. Then there's the structure of the sandwich itself. Soft bun, fried fish, tartar sauce. If everything isn't fresh and perfectly timed, it can become soggy fast. It's not a bad concept, but it's one of the most timing-sensitive items on the menu, and that makes it inconsistent. 7. Loaded curly fries. Next up, loaded curly fries from Arby's. Regular fries are simple, but once you start adding cheese, sauces, and toppings, everything changes. Loaded fries depend on balance. Too much sauce, they become soggy. Too little, they feel incomplete. And here's the real issue: fries lose quality fast. They're best fresh, hot, crispy, and lightly salted. But once you cover them and let them sit, even for a short time, that texture disappears. From a preparation standpoint, this item is also more complicated. Multiple steps, multiple ingredients. And in a fast-paced kitchen, that increases the chances of inconsistency. Sometimes they're great, other times they're a mess. 8. Chili. Now let's look at the Wendy's chili from Wendy's. This one might surprise people because it's actually a fan favorite. But here's the behind-the-scenes reality. Chili is often made using leftover burger meat that didn't get served during peak hours. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It reduces waste. But it does mean the product depends heavily on timing and handling. The flavor can vary slightly from batch to batch, and because chili sits in a heated container for extended periods, texture and freshness can change over time. It's a practical menu item, but it's also one of the least consistent. 9. Chicken fries. Chicken fries from Burger King are designed to be fun, snackable, and easy to eat, and they deliver on that. But here's the trade-off: they're thin, and that matters, because thinner chicken pieces cook faster, but also dry out faster. If they're even slightly overcooked, they lose juiciness quickly. If they sit too long, they become tough. And because they're often made in batches, timing becomes critical. Fresh batch, great. Older batch, completely different experience. They're convenient, but very sensitive to execution. 10. Nachos Bel Grande. Finally, Nachos Bel Grande from Taco Bell. This is one of the most visually appealing items on the menu. Layers of chips, beef, cheese, beans, sour cream, tomatoes. It looks loaded, but here's the problem: distribution. Unlike a burrito or taco, nachos are spread out. That means not every chip gets the same amount of toppings. Some bites are overloaded, others are just plain chips. Then there's the biggest issue: time. Nachos don't travel well. The longer they sit, the softer the chips become. And once that crunch is gone, the entire experience changes, but it's one of the least reliable items to order. 11. Big breakfast with hotcakes. Let's talk about the big breakfast with hotcakes from McDonald's. At first glance, it looks like incredible value: eggs, sausage, biscuit, hash browns, and pancakes. It feels like a full diner-style meal in one tray. But here's the issue: complexity. This is one of the most multi-component items on the entire breakfast menu. Each part is prepared differently. Eggs cooked on a griddle, sausage heated, biscuits baked, pancakes warmed. And when you combine that many elements, timing becomes everything. If even one component sits too long, the whole meal feels off. Cold eggs, dry biscuit, lukewarm pancakes. And because fast food kitchens are optimized for speed, not full breakfast platters, consistency can vary depending on how busy the location is. It's not a bad meal, but it's one of the easiest to get wrong. 12. Foot-long tuna. Now let's look at the Subway tuna sandwich from Subway. On paper, it seems simple: tuna salad, bread, vegetables. But here's where things get complicated: perception and handling. Unlike freshly sliced meats, tuna is a pre-mixed product. That means its quality depends heavily on how it's stored, how often it's refreshed, and how long it's been sitting in the prep area. And because it's mixed with mayo, temperature control becomes even more important. If it's not handled perfectly, texture and flavor can change quickly. Then there's customization. Adding too many toppings can overwhelm the sandwich, making it soggy and unbalanced. It's not about whether tuna is good or bad. It's about how sensitive it is to preparation and timing. 13. Triple Whopper. The Triple Whopper from Burger King takes everything about the classic Whopper and pushes it to the extreme. 3 patties, multiple layers, bigger size. Sounds like a win, right? Not always. Because more isn't always better. With 3 patties, balance becomes a major issue. Too much meat can overpower the toppings. The bun struggles to hold everything together. And the burger becomes harder to eat cleanly. From a kitchen perspective, stacking and assembling such a large item increases the chance of mistakes, uneven heating, rushed assembly, or sloppy presentation. And for the customer, it can feel more overwhelming than enjoyable. The Triple Whopper isn't just a bigger burger, it's a more complicated one. 14. Quesarito. Quesarito from Taco Bell is one of those items that sounds amazing. A burrito wrapped in a quesadilla, cheese, meat, rice, sauce, all packed into one. But here's the reality. It's one of the most difficult items to execute properly. There are multiple layers, multiple wraps, and a very specific structure required to hold it all together. If it's not assembled correctly, it falls apart. If it sits too long, the outer layer loses texture. And because it's so dense, ingredient distribution becomes inconsistent. Some bites overloaded, others lacking. It's creative, but it's also one of the most fragile items in terms of execution. 15. Chicken pot pie. Finally, chicken pot pie from KFC. This one feels like comfort food, warm filling, flaky crust, a break from typical fast food. But here's the challenge: temperature control. Pot pies are baked and held for serving, which means timing is critical. Too fresh? It's extremely hot and difficult to eat. Too old? The crust softens and the filling thickens in an unappealing way. And because it's a sealed item, you can't see what you're getting until you open it. That lack of visibility adds uncertainty. It's a great concept, but one that depends heavily on perfect timing, and that's not always guaranteed. 16. McFlurry. Let's talk about the McFlurry from McDonald's. It looks simple: soft serve ice cream mixed with candy toppings. But here's the reality most people already suspect: the machine. McFlurry machines have become almost legendary for being out of service, and while there are real operational reasons behind that, cleaning cycles, maintenance requirements, and technical issues, it still affects consistency. Even when the machine is working, there's another issue: mixing quality. Some locations fully blend the toppings, others barely mix them at all, leaving most of the candy sitting on top. And because it melts quickly, timing becomes critical. If it sits even a few minutes, the texture changes completely. So while the McFlurry can be great, it's also one of the most inconsistent desserts in fast food. 17. Loaded nacho fries. Nacho fries, especially the loaded versions from Taco Bell, are incredibly popular. Seasoned fries, cheese sauce, toppings. It sounds like a perfect combo, but here's the problem: fries and toppings don't always work well together over time. Just like loaded curly fries, these depend heavily on freshness. The fries need to be crispy. The cheese needs to be hot. The toppings need to be balanced. If any one of those is off, the whole item suffers. And because they're often prepared quickly during rush hours, consistency can vary. Fresh batch? Amazing. Sitting for a few minutes? Completely different experience. 18. Spicy chicken sandwich. The spicy chicken sandwich from chains like Wendy's or Burger King seems like a safe choice. But here's the issue: heat and timing. Spicy chicken relies on seasoning and frying precision. If overcooked, it dries out fast. If underseasoned, it loses its appeal. And because demand can fluctuate, these sandwiches may sit longer than expected before being served. Then there's the sauce factor. Spicy mayo or sauces can make the sandwich soggy if not applied properly. So while it's a popular item, it's more sensitive to execution than people realize. 19. Mozzarella sticks. Mozzarella sticks from places like Sonic Drive-In or Arby's are a classic side. Crispy outside, melted cheese inside. These are one of the most timing-sensitive items in fast food. If they're undercooked, the cheese doesn't melt properly. If they're overcooked, the cheese leaks out, leaving empty shells. And once they sit, the outer coating softens quickly. They're also often cooked in batches, meaning you might not always get a fresh order. When done right, they're great, but they're one of the easiest items to mess up. 20. Fried apple pie. Finally, fried apple pie from McDonald's. This one feels nostalgic. Crispy crust, sweet filling, classic fast food dessert. But here's the challenge: temperature and timing. These pies are heated and held, which means they can swing between two extremes. Too fresh, the filling is extremely hot, almost too hot to eat safely right away. Too old, the crust loses its crispness and the filling thickens. And because they're sealed, you don't know what you're getting until you take that first bite. It's a simple item, but one that depends entirely on timing. 21. Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Let's start with one of the most consistently praised items in fast food: the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. This is a perfect example of simplicity done right. A seasoned breaded chicken breast, 2 pickles, a buttered bun, that's it. But here's why it works so well: consistency. Chick-fil-A has built its entire system around delivering the same product, the same way, every time. The chicken is pressure cooked to lock in moisture while maintaining a crispy exterior, and because the menu is focused, not overloaded, staff can prioritize quality over complexity. There's also speed. Even with long lines, orders move quickly, which means your sandwich is usually fresh, and that freshness makes a difference. No unnecessary ingredients, no complicated assembly, just a well-executed classic that rarely disappoints. 22. Chipotle burrito bowl neck. Chipotle burrito bowl from Chipotle Mexican Grill. This is one of the most reliable fast food options available today, and that's because it's not really fast food in the traditional sense. Everything is built in front of you. You see the ingredients, you choose the portions, you control the balance. That transparency changes everything, because instead of hoping your order is made correctly, you watch it happen. The bowl format also solves a lot of common fast food problems. No soggy tortillas, no structural issues, no uneven distribution. Every bite can be as balanced as you want it to be. And because ingredients are replenished frequently, freshness tends to be higher than average. It's simple, but it gives you control, and that's why it works. 23. In-N-Out Double Double. The Double Double from In-N-Out Burger is often considered one of the best burgers in fast food, and the reason comes down to focus. In-N-Out doesn't try to do everything. They do burgers, fries, and shakes, that's it. And because the menu is so limited, they can maintain tight control over quality. Every burger is made to order, the ingredients are fresh, and nothing sits around waiting to be served. That eliminates one of the biggest issues in fast food: staleness. The Double Double is balanced. Not too big, not too messy, not overly complicated, just a well-made burger that delivers exactly what you expect, every time. 24. Culver's Butterburger. Butterburger from Culver's is another standout. At first glance, it might look like a standard burger, but the difference is in the details. The beef is cooked fresh, never sitting under heat lamps waiting to be served. The bun is lightly buttered and toasted, adding flavor without overpowering the meat. And the entire burger is assembled with care. That might sound simple, but in fast food, that level of attention is rare. Culver's also operates at a slightly slower pace compared to typical chains, and that's actually an advantage. The result? A burger that feels closer to restaurant quality than traditional fast food. 25. Popeye's Chicken Sandwich. Finally, Popeye's chicken sandwich from Popeyes. This is the sandwich that broke the internet. Long lines, sold-out locations, viral hype, but unlike many viral items, this one actually delivers when done right. The chicken is thick, crispy, and packed with flavor. The bun is soft but sturdy. The pickles and sauce add balance without overwhelming the main ingredient. And most importantly, it's built around one core idea: let the chicken shine. There aren't too many layers, not too many distractions, just a strong, focused product. Now, like many items we've discussed, consistency can vary by location. But when everything comes together, it's one of the best fast food items you can order today. So after all of this, you might be wondering, does this mean you should never eat fast food again? Not exactly, because here's the truth. Fast food isn't bad by default. Every item is designed around speed, cost, and consistency. And sometimes, those priorities come at the expense of quality, balance, or freshness. The items we talked about today, they're not necessarily the worst tasting, they're the most risky, the ones that depend heavily on timing, preparation, and execution. And that's the key takeaway. Because once you understand how these foods are made, you start to see the patterns, you realize which items are simple and reliable, and which ones are complicated and unpredictable, and that changes how you order. So the next time you're at a drive-thru, take a second. Look at the menu differently, because the smartest choice isn't always the most popular one. It's the one that's most likely to be done right. Now I want to hear from you. What's a fast food item you ordered that completely disappointed you? And what's one you always trust? Drop it in the comments. Because the best advice doesn't just come from menus, it comes from real experiences.